Thank you so much for joining us today. I was hoping that we could just start by you telling me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Absolutely. My name is Andrea Catania. My pronouns are she, her. I'm originally from around the Syracuse area, around central New York. That's where I grew up. I went to college. I did my undergrad at the Culinary Institute of America in the Hudson Valley. And after that, I was moving around quite a bit for my career. I lived in LA and Las Vegas and Denver. And then I'm back on the East Coast now in Boston. I came back for grad school here at BU, which was a dream of mine for a long time. I kind of had my eye on the gastronomy program and decided when the time was right, it would be right. And I just graduated last month, so I'm happy about that, and I'm
Congrats.
glad to be here.
Great.
Thank you.
Amazing. So, can you just tell us a little bit about your topic and also what got you interested in speaking about this?
Yes, I'm going to be presenting about public kitchens and sharing how they relate to social infrastructure. So, the idea is if we were to imagine if kitchen space were public in the same way that we have pools, parks, libraries, playgrounds, things like that, how would that change social life? And so, when I was in the gastronomy program, I focused on food policy. So, a lot of my interests are in food systems reform and food justice. And being a part of academia after being in operations in my career in food and beverage for so long, I've been thinking about like the utility of academic work and really trying to focus on applied food studies and actionable things and thinking through how scholarship can support activism. And so during my time in the program, I was offered a fellowship at the Mayor's Office of New Urban Mechanics for the city of Boston. I was put forward by BU's Initiative on Cities, actually. So they have a seat in that program, in that fellowship every summer. And they gave me one of theirs for a summer. And so I was partnered with the existing food security design fellow, and he and I were working on a lot of different food justice related projects, but one of them was related to pop-up style public kitchens. So partnering with existing organizations around Boston that are well known in different types of community work, not necessarily food-based, but they touch the community in some way. And this project was related to pop-up public kitchens. So one day people come, you activate the space, it's programmed to see what could be built from that. So, um, after my time with the city wrapped and my collaborators' time with the city, we were still doing other different kinds of food systems and food justice work. And we started thinking about how this public kitchen project could live in a different way. In partnership with the Design Studio for Social Intervention in Dorchester, they had been prototyping public kitchens for a little bit over a decade, kind of playing on that same pop-up style. Um, public kitchens are a centuries old concept. They're not new, but this is a modern application that was living in Boston. So with the design studio last summer 2024, we did a semi-permanent version of this. So it was open for 3 months, 3 days a week in Dorchester. It was co-created with community, all co-designed so it could be what people need or want it to be. So um, after that had wrapped, my collaborator and I were still thinking how it could continue to live and to move forward to more of a permanent version of a public kitchen. So if you're really going to have food-based public infrastructure, it can't just live in the pop-up style. Those are great ways to pilot it or prototype it, but if you're thinking long range or in a sustainable kind of way, libraries don't just pop up for a weekend or pop up for 3 months and go away. Um, so that's the point that we've gotten to now. I think I'll stop there.
That's
Um,
amazing. No, that's incredible.
there's
That's
there's more to say, but I think
You'll
we'll
have to come to your TED Talk to see
move
it.
on from there. Yes, please do.
Yeah. So for the people who are gonna come to your TED Talk, what do you think are some of the most important things to know about public kitchens? What do you want people to know?
Hmm. I think when you're introducing this topic to people, it's just that it has to be an introduction. So kind of like how I just said it a moment ago. So if you were to imagine a public kitchen, and you had never heard of that before, you would want to know what it is. And so have related it to things that people already know, like the library and public pools and playgrounds and those kinds of things, because then it begins to make sense to people. So that's usually step one. What is it? And then the next question is maybe so what, or how could it relate to me? And
Yeah.
so I usually ask people to consider how they engage with those other types of social infrastructure. So the library, for example, means different things to different people. Some people who have books at home still use the library for different things. And some people might be more of a regular or a heavier user of the library. They may be going there to get tax help or to learn English or whatever their motivation is. And the same is true for public kitchens. So we may imagine, well, I have a kitchen at home. Why would I utilize this space? So challenging people a little bit to think beyond this, like just your own private world and your own home sphere, to one, think about other priorities that you may have outside of just the utility of your kitchen, like social aspects and community building and these other kinds of things. Um, but then also to consider that you have a kitchen, maybe you and I have kitchens, but are they conducive to what we want? If we want to go and make pickles together, do I have enough space for you and I to be making pickles? Do we have jars and equipment to be making pickles? Do we know how to make pickles? And so all of those kinds of things could be, there could be solutions for them at the public kitchen. And also to imagine that not everyone does have not everyone does have a personal kitchen. And so there are lots of users of the space um, that may be living in arrangements where they don't have access to that, or um, they have other things in mind about what would draw them to the public kitchen. So the first thing is to imagine what it is, and then to imagine the so what or how you can relate to it. And then the larger conversation, I think, is about I'd like folks to consider the role that food-based public infrastructure can contribute or continue to play in our society, and how how might we better utilize food to cultivate the long-term well-being of people. And larger, a little zooming out, kind of larger than that, is to think about how food and food ways contribute to our vision of the future that we wish for.
That's amazing. And now I'm craving pickles. So that's great. So that actually leads perfectly into my last question, which is what are your next steps and what is kind of your goals or your dreams for what this can turn into or become?
Yeah, I feel a sense when I think about public kitchens and my role in them, I think it's more about stewardship than ownership. Um, this is not my idea. I didn't come up with public kitchens, and I didn't even come up with them in a modern sense. I'm just a player in this part of the journey of how it looks now. So taking this very ancient practice of eating and cooking together and having this modern application of it to solve modern problems, and to meet modern desires is where it's at. So when I think of my role in it, I see it very much from a stewardship angle. And also, this is a hyper local solution to many things, and it needs to be led by the people for whom it affects the most. So what I think, honestly, what I think doesn't matter. It's not my place for to helicopter into a community. I can provide other kinds of supports, and um, I can be a force in that way, but it really needs to be community centered and community led. So in 2024, my engagement with this came with a lot of, I'll say, like front facing aspects of the work. And now I feel like I've been hibernating and I'm sort of ready to emerge in spring. So like preparing for lots of things that are going to happen and doing more behind the scenes focus, so that when things come to happen, I'm emerging, I guess, and like to use that analogy. And so this approach has been very multifaceted, I think, also because food systems, like many things, not only benefits from a multidisciplinary, multifaceted approach, but the world sort of demands it now. And so one aspect of this approach has been very community facing. So my collaborator and I, for example, have been partnering with the Harvest on Vine food pantry to open a permanent public kitchen in Charlestown. So you'll more on that later. So that's kind of one branch that it's living. There's of course an academic piece. So I've been submitting and publishing some of my research and writings as they've come through. There's of course the sustainability of it all, like little, I call it little s sustainable, how things can live on. And so things like grant writing and Innovate at BU has a venture competition that we're going to be semi-finalists in for this public kitchen idea. New news, hot off the press. You're the first to hear over these last few days. And so that's very exciting. And that sustainability also comes with advocating for systemic change. And so not just looking to treat the symptoms of things that we need to in society, but root causes as well. And that involves a multi-sector approach that can't be totally grassroots and it can't be totally, private sector, public sector, or academia. These all have roles to play in this. And then finally, I think about kind of the empowerment piece and my role in that. So sharing the work at conferences and talks and things like TEDx, and thinking about being a convener of people, just continuing to be a part of food systems conversations and kind of advocating for a future that centers food justice.
That's amazing. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We are so excited to have you at TEDxBU. And yeah, we are really, really excited to learn more about public kitchens. And I personally think it's an awesome topic and it's super relevant. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here and I can't wait for my talk.